The biggest problem with gym leaders today, they're not just too easy. They teach you nothing. You show up, spam one move, and walk away with a badge. No thinking, no planning, no real challenge. But aren't gym leaders supposed to be boss fights? So why do they feel like filler battles? The issue isn't just about difficulty. The real issue is that Pokemon doesn't teach you how to actually play the game. The main story never forces you to learn how to use abilities, held items, speed control, or even basic switching. Gym leaders should be the difference between casual and competitive play, and right now they're just speed bumps. A gym leader should really do three things: teach you something new about battling, make you think about your team's synergy, and have a unique theme to match their type in a strategic way. Right now, most of them don't do any of that, but that's what I'm gonna fix. I'm gonna rebuild every gym leader from the ground up, starting with Generation 1. But before I reveal their teams, it's important to go over some type of a rule set for me to create these teams, because I want these games to be fun, fair, and remain faithful to the original games. So the first rule is that gym leaders can only use Pokemon from their native region. So Kanto leaders will only have Kanto Pokemon. But there are a few cases where I'm going to break this rule because there are a few Pokemon I have in mind that are just going to enhance the experience and just synergize better with the team. You'll see what I mean when we get there, but this is New Game Plus, meaning that these are seasoned veterans and I want the teams to show that. The second rule is that there are no more items. Hold items are okay, but the days of gym leaders healing over and over again are over. And so are yours. It's New Game Plus, and there are no items allowed during major story battles, which will help the player learn how to play the game and leverage mechanics given to them. Number 3, the ace stays. Each leader will keep their iconic ace, whether it's from the anime or the games. If you think of Brock, you expect to see his Onix, and he's staying. The fourth rule is that strategic synergy matters much more than just pure typing. Not every Pokemon needs to match the gym type, but every one of them should feel like they belong there. Think about the Blueberry League in Scarlet and Violet. Amaris didn't use 6 steel types, but her Reunitless belonged there, because he could actually help the team by setting up Trick Room for her slow, bulky steel types to sweep, which to me provided perfect synergy for her team and was her biggest threat. And the last rule is that we'll be using Gen 9 Pokemon mechanics, which means that Sturdy actually works against one-hit KO moves, the physical special split, you get the gist. So with that out of the way, let's start with Brock. The problem with Brock right now is that if you picked either Squirtle or Bulbasaur, you can spam one move to defeat both his Geodude and Onix and carry on your way to Mount Moon. So instead, he's going to have a Sandstorm team. He'll still lead with the Geodude, but this time his Sturdy ability actually works, and his sole job is to set up Sandstorm before going down. With the held Smooth Rock, this will make a Sandstorm last 8 turns instead of 5, and will not only provide a little chip every turn, but it also boosts Rock-type special defense by 1 stage, and it helps activate the next Pokemon's ability, Diglett. No, Diglett's not a Rock-type, but Diglett's tunnel is right next to Pewter City, and I'm sure Brock has caught one by now. And Diglett has the ability Sand Veil, which in the Sandstorm provides an evasion boost, effectively making your 100% accurate moves turn into 80% accurate moves. Tack on the move Mud Slap to further lower your accuracy, and his Diglett turns into a nimble little mole who is tough to hit. And because they'll be holding a Focus Sash, you're going to need him at least twice to bring him down. Side note, I did think the Focus Sash would be a bit too OP this early in the game, but just look at Diglett's bulk. This will give him just more of a fighting chance. And with some speed lowering moves like Bulldoze and Rock Tomb, his goal is to make sure he's faster than you and then try to flinch you a couple times with Headbutt. The next Pokemon is Leap. I know, not a Kantomon, I'm breaking my rules already, but hear me out. Leap is a Rock-type fossil Pokemon, and Pewter City is home of one of the museums that do have fossils in them. The Rock-type fits thematically and gives Brock a way to counter water and somewhat grass types with his Rock-Grass typing. Leap's main job is to soak up any potential water-type moves to give a boost to its special attack using its ability Storm Drain, which provides a +1 to its special attack if it's able to switch in on a water-type move, which is quite likely when you're facing a rock and ground type gym. And this also helps give a boost to its Stab Mega Drains. Now Stab stands for same type attack bonus, 50% boost to its damage whenever it uses a move of its same typing. So when the Leap uses either Mega Drain or Ancient Power that matches its Rock Grass typing, you'll notice that it receives a little bit of a boost to its power output. And Ancient Power has the potential to get an Omni Boost where they have a 10% random chance of getting every single stat boosted at the same time. Overall, I hope they are quite the annoying pest to get rid of and made to be even more annoying with some passive recovery holding the leftovers item. And just because I'm hoping the Leap will be out there for longer than the 8 initial turn Sandstorm, they also have the ability to set up the sand again for the next Pokemon, Sandshrew. No, Sandshrew is not a rock type either, but one of the earlier gym trainers does own one, so fair game to me. Sandshrew has the ability Sand Rush, which means that his speed doubles in a Sandstorm, and this means that he'll most likely outspeed anything on your team at this point and be able to set up some hazards with Spikes and Stealth Rock. With Stealth Rock dealing an 1/8 of your Pokemon's HP and Spikes dealing another 1/8 of your Pokemon's HP on every switch in, this will definitely teach you the importance of strategy strategy when pivoting your Pokemon. Add on Bulldoze for stab speed control and the 2-turn move dig, which is basically its signature move, and also helps rack up even more sandstorm damage. This sets up Brock's Ace perfectly for a potential sweep. Now, granted, nobody's ever been scared of an Onix with an attack lower than a Caterpie, but he does have a moveset similar to Diglett designed to make you flinch until you wide out. Onix has its ability Weak Armor, so if Rock Tomb and Bulldoze doesn't make you slower than him, then he'll definitely be able to outspeed you when he gets a sharp speed boost after taking a physical attack. And the only drawback to Weak Armor is the defense drop, but by holding the Wide Herbs, this will negate that the first time. And Onix has way more defense than he needs anyway. Add in Headbutt to make you flinch and the wildcard move Flail, which increases in power to lower the user's HP, and Onix can actually do some damage to your team. But this, to me, is a gym leader team. Tough, fair, and probably going to white out a few times before actually completing it, but that's what makes these battles feel earned. But let me know what changes you made, because I think that this team is rock hard.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Okay, that was weird, but I hope you brought your raincoat because Misty's about to bring the storm. Yeah, I'll get better. But anyways, the problem with Misty's team right now is that any potential grass type hard walls both are Staryu and are Starmie, as they have no way to deal any super effective damage. And I think their new lead might surprise you because I think that the best Pokemon to start off her new rain team is actually Pidgeotto. You're probably wondering why Misty is leading with a flying type on a water team, but there's actually a few reasons. One reason is that you can find a Pidgey or Pidgeotto on the nearby routes of Cerulean City, but the main reason is that the Pidgeyline can also learn the water move Rain Dance, and that was good enough for me. The main strategy behind Pidgeotto is that not only does Misty have the option of setting up the Rain Freight turns with a held Damp Rock, but this also gives her a counter to your grass type, so you're not spamming Vine Whip a couple of times to earn a badge. And if you brought an electric type Pokemon to lead, she has the option of pivoting with U-turn into Goldeen to suck up your electric type attacks with its ability Lightning Rod. Now I did wonder if this would be a little bit too OP for this early in the game, but with the base special attack stat of 35, I don't think a boost or two is going to do much damage to your team. But with Goldeen out, Misty has the option to set up the Rain now while you switch from your electric type into a grass type, or stay in to get some super effective damage with a Drill Run, or maybe even pivot with a stab rain boosted flip turn to better counter your team. Goldeen's also holding a Rindo Berry to guarantee she survives a grass type attack and then can be used later against one of your electric mons. But if the rain's up, it's perfect synergy for her next Pokemon Poliwhirl. Not only does Poliwhirl get its speed double thanks to its Swift Swim ability, but you can also potentially get the pair with a Body Slam, which if you don't know has a 30% chance to paralyze your opponent when you use the move, but for some reason has a 90% chance to paralyze you when your opponent uses it against you. Weird. Tack on Stab, Rain Boosted Waterfall to potentially make you flinch, and a very fitting held item in King's Rock to grant an additional flinch chance, and Poliwhirl is finally a threatening Pokemon. Also has Ice Punch for coverage and Hypnosis as a last ditch effort in case Misty needs to change the momentum. Fun fact about Hypnosis, it has a 60% chance to make your opponent fall asleep, but when your opponent uses it against you, it actually has a 90% chance to make you fall asleep. Weird how that works. Anyways, the last Pokemon before her ace is actually Wartortle. Yes, I'm giving starter Pokemon to gym leaders, number one because I think it's fun, but also because I think that the player should have to battle all three starters somehow, some way on the road to becoming champion. Wartortle has some great defenses this early in the game, and if the rain's still up, their Rain Dish ability will be active. Along with the leftovers, and Wartortle is recovering an eighth of their HP every turn, and by using Protect, he'll be recovering a quarter of his health every other turn. Add Rapid Spin to clear any hazards you learn from Brock and boost his speed stat by one stage, and he's potentially able to make you flinch with Bite. This means that if he protects, flinches you, and protects again, he has the ability to recover 3/4 of his HP. Now that is a defensive wall. So with your team all worn down, it's time to unleash Misty's ace, Starmie. With almost perfect coverage, Starmie can deal either super effective or regular damage to every Pokemon in the game, and can also be quite annoying being that Water Pulse and Psybeam both have a chance to confuse you, and has a Citrus Berry for added survivability. Misty's Starmie embodies what an ace should be by hitting hard and fast. So this really challenges the player to come prepared with more than just 4 attacking moves to try and status her, do entry hazard damage, or just try and build some type of strategy other than having the type matchup advantage. And you might not do these battles deathless anymore, but that's what makes the game more exciting. Let me know what changes you'd make. Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's a bit OP? I personally think that this team embodies what a water team should do in the rain. But let me know because we're moving on to Lieutenant Surge. The electric type gym leader would be way more of a challenge if you didn't have Diglett's cave right next to him. The way it stands at the moment is you can pick up an underlevel Diglett, spam Bulldoze because this team can't touch you otherwise, and the gym battle's over. I think that's dumb and way too easy, so his new lead Electrode is going to fix that. Electrode knows the move Magnet Rise, which allows the user to levitate for 5 turns to be immune to ground type moves. With the base speed stat of 150, chances are he'll outspeed you and make you whiff a ground type move. Tack on the ability Static for paralysis hacks, Swift to hit ground type moves, and Explosion to deal damage in a pinch, and Electrode is a force to be reckoned with. Magneton is a second mod, and with the held air balloon they essentially get rid of a quad weakness, at least for a hit. This allows them to use Thunder Wave to gain speed control, fire off some nasty stab flash cannons Thorns or Thunderbolts coming off a base special attack of 120, or maybe even slow Volt switching into his new wild card, Gyarados. No, he's not an electric type, but hear me out. Vermilion City is where you get the old rod, and when you start fishing, the only thing you catch is Magikarp. Vermilion is covered by tons of water, so chances are Lieutenant Surge has gone out fishing and caught a Magikarp and decided to raise him to past level 20, and then added it to his gym team. His flying type is perfect for avoiding any ground type moves, and its water typing with stab waterfalls perfectly counter the rock and ground type Pokemon that electric type Pokemon struggle to hit. Throw in a wide lens to never miss an Ice Fang and potentially land a bounce on grass types, and you can start to see why the synergy actually works in this fight. The next Pokemon is Electabuzz. Surge has been seen with Electabuzz in several instances, and of course is one of the stronger Gen 1 electric types, so he's holding an Eviolite for some additional bulk, which pairs perfectly with its static ability. With being able to tank so many hits at this point, you're bound to get paralyzed eventually. Throw in all 3 elemental punches for near perfect coverage, and Electabuzz almost looks like an ace. But of course, that spot is reserved for Raichu. Yes, he's also holding a Focus Sash, but I want an ace to actually feel like an ace. And with some pretty pitiful bulk, I was scared that he was going to get knocked down in one hit, so a Focus Sash makes him survive at least 2 hits. He knows Nuzzle for paralysis hacks and speed control, Grass Knot for ground and rock types, Surf because Surfing Pikachu is totally a thing, and of course, Stab Thunderbolt, which is probably Surge's signature move. But these 5 Pokemon, in my opinion, do what electric types actually need to do. They're fast, they hit hard, they can cause paralysis hacks, so it's going to be a real challenge to actually earn this badge from Surge. Of course, let me know what you think in the comments, because the next gym leader we're going over is Erika. Grass types are known for statusing, Leech Seed recovery, and having the most weaknesses of any type, meaning that the Grass Gym being 4th, where you've already composed a team, almost always comes with an easy battle to earn this badge. The other problem with most grass types is that they do want to set up the sun to use their chlorophyll ability, but that just makes them weaker to one of their already 5 weaknesses. So to counter this, Erika's new lead is another wild card, Ludicolo, the dancing pineapple. No, he's not from Kanto, but being part water type, he's able to handle fire types much better than any other mon on her team. But the main reason he's a lead is because he knows the move Rain Dance, which activates his Swift Swim ability to outspeed and nuke all the fire types you may have brought to Erika's team. This way her real grass types can shine in the back. He's also holding a Koba Berry to survive an Air Slash from a potential Charizard, and fight back with a rain boosted water type Weather Ball. With a base special defense stat of 100, he also acts like a special wall in this team because her physical wall is Tangela, made even bulkier with the held Eviolite. If Tangela finds himself in a good matchup, then he can use Leech Seed, Grassy Terrain, and even stab Giga Drain to continuously get HP back. Throw in Ancient Power for some coverage and a potential Omni Boost, and he suddenly looks like an actual threat. Parasect is our next Pokemon, and I know what you're thinking. You gave Erika the Pokemon with 2 4x weaknesses? Yes I did, but I also made him hold a Focus Sash so that way he can at least get off a Spore guaranteed, which is really his only job. Yeah, he's got Stab Leech Life to maybe get some HP back, Seed Bomb to do some damage, or even Knock Off to get rid of any hold items you might have, but the real reason he's on the team is to put you to sleep, and with some good sleep luck, or maybe bad I guess, Victory Bell can come in and set up the sun to boost both his and her Ace's speed stat with their Chlorophyll ability. They're both quite similar in typing and moveset, but Victory Bell is just a physical attacker and Vileplume is a special attacker. And by this time in the battle, the player's team should be almost out of fire types, but if not, Victory Bell is holding an Occa Berry to survive almost any fire type move in the sun, and be able to launch 1-turn stab Solar Blades for some massive damage. And Vileplume also has the same, but with Solar Beams. Also has Black Sludge for passive recovery, Moonlight to stay healthy, and Giga Drain to hopefully survive more hits than we all thought he would originally. But in my opinion, this is what a grass team is all about. Being annoyed at being put to sleep, needing to switch out because of Leech Seed, and incredible bulk with some ways to get HP back. Erika's team is typically known for being one of the weakest in the region, but let me know if you think I fixed this team. And now we're going to move on to the poison type specialist, Koga. It's no secret that psychic type Pokemon are overpowered in Gen 1, and usually at this point in the game, your Alakazam, or even Kadabra, if you didn't have friends like me, is more than sufficient to spam Psybeam to KO every single one of his original Pokemon, so his new lead will hopefully prevent that. Koga now leads with Venomoth, which honestly should have never been Sabrina's Pokemon from the beginning, and is holding the Payapa Berry to survive a Psychic from Alakazam, and really has 2 options at this point. Set up Toxic Spikes for Koga's 5 remaining Pokemon, or use the best setup move in the game, Quiver Dance, to set up, become bulkier, and outspeed your Alakazam for the one-shot with Bug Buzz. Although Toxic Spikes are the priority here because the next Pokemon Tentacruel has both Venoshock and Hex, which deal double damage if opposing Pokemon are poisoned. He also has Scald for a strong stab option with the potential to burn any poison or steel types who weren't affected by the spikes, and Flip Turn to gain momentum. Oh yeah, and of course, the held Air Balloon as Tentacruel is the designated counter for ground types with its water typing. His next Pokemon Arbok is probably one of my favorite sets I came up with. First, he has the ability Intimidate to lower your your Pokemon's physical attack, and is holding a focus sash, so it's pretty much guaranteed to get off a coil to raise its attack, defense, and accuracy by 1 stage. This means that he can fire off now perfectly accurate stab 120 base powered gunk shots for some incredible damage. For context, this guarantees a one-shot on a Charizard. Also has the move Scale Shot that is now perfectly accurate to boost its speed, which allows him to outspeed every Kantomon except Jolteon, Aerodactyl, or Mewtwo, which, let's be real, you probably didn't bring to this battle. And Sucker Punch to get one last hit on any of your Pokemon if it comes down to it. Koga's next Pokemon, Muck, is actually of the Alolan variant as his wild card. It fits perfectly due to being technically a Gen 1 Pokemon, and it's safe to say that Koga may have vacation to the Alola region every once in a while and realize that the Alolan version has a dark typing to counter one of his biggest weaknesses. Now, of course, Muck has minimized to be as annoying as possible, stab, poison jab, and knockoff to avoid any of your held items, and the priority move Shadow Sneak, which is much needed coming off a base speed stat of 50. This also happens to be super effective against any psychic type remaining the player has. The next Pokemon may have been stolen from Agatha, but Gengar is absolutely needed on a poison type team. He also has Hex and Venoshock, which with stab is 190 base power if Venomoth laid out those toxic spikes. And with the Wise Glasses boosting his attack by additional 10%, both of these moves have over 200 base power. Throwing Giga Drain for any potential ground types, which Gengar is more than capable of outspeeding, and Destiny Bond to take one of your Pokemon down with him, and he's almost like a pseudo ace for Koga. But Koga's real ace is the bulky Weezing. He's incredible bulky on the defensive side with a base defense stat of 120, but he's holding the Assault Vest to bring up his lower special defense to become a complete defensive wall. He has Body Slam to potentially paralyze any Pokemon that weren't poisoned, and Dark Pulse to play some Paraflinch hacks, Flamethrower for coverage and to potentially burn any outstanding Pokemon, and of course Venoshock to deal some massive damage. This team looks much better than the repeats he currently has and would actually be threatening given that his team effectively does what a poison type team is supposed to do: set up entry hazards, poison you, and whittle you down turn by turn. Let me know what you think, because we're moving on to the most difficult gym leader, Sabrina. Now, it's only fitting that Sabrina has a double battle because it has to happen at some point, and what better way to set up Trick Room? Her lead, Mr. Mime, knows Fake Out to make an opposing Pokemon flinch to almost guarantee that Slowbro is able to use Trick Room, which makes slower Pokemon able to attack first. And with a base speed stat of 30, it's safe that he probably will. Mr. Mime also has Reflect with the held Light Clay to boost her team's physical defense for the next 8 turns instead of 5. Now, I didn't include Light Screen because Psychic types are actually typically very bulky on the specialty side, but they really need some help on the physical side. And I also wanted to give him Stab, Dazzling Gleam, which is great for spread damage, and it's a great counter for any potential dark types. But the main priority after setting up Reflect is either to get knocked out or slow a baton pass into Exeggutor to ensure that they get in for free without taking any damage, since it's likely that Mr. Mime goes last in Trick Room due to having such a high speed stat. With Slowbro and Exeggutor likely moving first in Trick Room, they can hit almost every Pokemon for regular or super effective damage with their stabs of Water, Grass, and Psychic. Slowbro also has the fighting type move Body Press to take advantage of its highest stat in defense, and is holding a Cassette Berry to guarantee survival against a Stab Shadow Ball from Gengar to make sure that he's able to set up Trick Room the first turn. Exeggutor is holding a Citrus Berry along with the Harvest ability to potentially get the berry back at the end of every turn, Protect to get more chances at berry recovery, and Giga Drain to try and stay alive as long as possible. If one of these two Pokemon go down, Sabrina always has the option of sending her wild card Butterfree, who in all honesty I did think was a psychic type in my first ever playthrough in Pokemon Red and Blue, so it makes sense to me, and she's on the team. She boasts a scary way of always being able to land a 75% accurate Sleep Powder with a combination of the ability Compound Eyes and a held Wide Lens, which makes setting up Trick Room a real possibility, but is even scarier if she's able to set up with the best move in the game, Quiver Dance. This would boost her reasonable special attack to threatening amounts, especially since she knows the now 100% accurate Stab, Hurricane, and Bug Buzz, which is only resisted by a total of 3 Pokemon in the Kanto dex. But let's be real, none of these Pokemon probably came to the fight to begin with. Her next Pokemon, Hypno, is a bit creepy, and to be honest, I really didn't want to put on the team. I mean, just look at this Pokedex entry. So his sole purpose is to set up the Psychic Terrain to boost her Ace, which we'll discuss in a moment. He's also holding the Terrain Extender to get an additional 3 turns of terrain, and knows Hypnosis because that's his whole gimmick with that little yo-yo thing, and knows his signature move Dream Eater because I think that needs to be on a Psychic team somehow. And I just threw on Taunt to shut down any potential status moves. So anyways, the real star of the show is Alakazam, who already has a monstrous special attack stat, highest in all of the Kanto decks excluding Mega Evolutions, and is made to hit even harder by holding the Life Orb, which gives him a 30% damage boost. But it's important to note that he won't be taking any recoil damage due to the ability Magic Guard that prevents damage from anything except direct attack moves. And hopefully Hypno did their one job to set up the Psychic terrain because he has the move Expanding Force, which not only doubles in power on this terrain but also now hits both targets and gets an additional 30% boost to its power. The terrain also prevents any priority moves like Sucker Punch from working, and with some additional coverage moves, Sabrina's Ace is just as strong as he appears appear to be in the anime. As a whole, I think that this gym might be a bit too OP, but in Gen 1, Psychic type is literally known for being overpowered and had to be nerfed the very next gen. So I think it fits. But let me know what you think as we go on to the next leader, Blaine. Blaine is known for being a total pushover, as a player has to have the move Surf before arriving on Cinnabar Island. And that very HM is the move that anyone can use to instantly defeat him. But not only does he have a fire team, he has probably my favorite gym strategy ever in a sun team, and is yet again another double battle because I think that these pose the most challenge and is more fun for me to create. So Blaine leads with a sun setting Ninetales, of course, that will set up the sun for 8 turns instead of 5 with the held Heat Rock, and is sitting right next to his wild card, Venusaur. Yes, Venusaur is incredibly weak to fire, but just listen to how well he synergizes with the team. First, the sun activates its chlorophyll ability, effectively making Venusaur the fastest Gen 1 Pokemon. This also allows 1-turn solar beams to knock out any opposing water, ground, and rock types, which is fire's only 3 weaknesses, and turns a usual 50 base powered normal type weather ball into a 150 base power fire type weather ball after all the multipliers come in. So I guess he does fit on the fire type gym. And then I threw on a citrus berry and stab Giga Drain for some extra survivability as well. But going back to Ninetales, she also has Flamethrower, which is likely the gym's TM, as well as Calm Mind and Baton Pass to pass any potential boost to her team, as the goal is to switch out and be able to bring the sun back up if the battle exceeds 8 turns. Since double battles are on average in the competitive scene only 10 to 12 turns. The next Pokemon is Arcanine. I know it's his usual ace, but I think there's another Pokemon that fits it just a bit better. But he is a great support Pokemon, having the ability Intimidate to lower any physical attackers, a held air balloon to be immune to any ground type moves for at least 1 turn, and the support move Snarl to not only hit both opponents but also lower the special attack of every Pokemon it hits by 1 stage. He also knows Stab Flare Blitz, which can do huge damage in the sun, Close Combat is a powerful coverage move, and Extreme Speed for priority to be able to pick off any low HP Pokemon. Rapidash, which honestly needs to be the shiny variant and is a bit underwhelming on the stab department, also has some extremely strong attacks like Flare Blitz, 1-turn Solar Blades in the sun, High Horsepower, which is now 100% accurate due to a held wide lens, and has the move Will-O-Wisp and ability Flame Body to fish for some burns to cut physical attackers' damage output even further. The pseudo ace on the team though is the final starter who hasn't made an appearance yet, Charizard, and he fits perfectly in the sun. Solar Power grants Charizard an extra 50% damage boost in the sun, a held Life Orb grants an additional 30% damage boost. Combining both of these gives a boost of over 95% before factoring in Stab or the harsh sunlight. He has almost perfect coverage with Stab, Flamethrower, and Air Slash, along with Scorching Sands for ground types and Dragon Pulse in case you brought your Dragonite. But Blaine's real ace is Magmar. You know, the one that fought with Charizard over a volcano in the anime? That to me has always been the epitome of an ace, and he has a typical VGC moveset holding the EV Light to boost its defenses even further. Follow me to redirect attacks into him to not only keep his allies safe, but also fish for another potential burn with the ability Flame Body. Another move that can be extremely powerful in support is Helping Hand, which boosts his allies' damage output by 50%, which can mean the difference between finishing off an opponent and letting them stay for 1 more turn. Add on Flamethrower and Thunder Punch, and Blaine has an admittedly different, but still very threatening ace. Do you think I got the fire team right? How do you feel about Venusaur being on the team? Of course, tell me down below, because we're going to go on to the next gym leader, Giovanni. Giovanni is known for owning some powerful normal types, but also being the ground type gym leader. So I can't help but think it's best for the last real test in the game to be a normal and ground type leader to demonstrate his skill and ability. Going back to single battles, he'll start with his Persian, who he always has in the anime but never in the games for some reason. She's holding the Silk Scarf and has the ability Technician, which turns a normal 40 base power fake out into a 108 base power attack after factoring in Stab, and the target gets flinched for a turn as well. It would be a bit more broken if Persian didn't have a base attack stat of 70, but the main concept of this Persian is to lead to get some chip, and then outspeed with a base speed stat of 115 to get even more chip damage with the U-turn to go into the next Pokemon that suits the matchup best, and then come back between Pokemon knockouts to do even more chip damage and gradually wearing down the team. So if Persian is fighting against a fighting type Pokemon, for example, which is reasonable to bring to a normal type gym, she can switch and U-turn to either Nidoking or Nidoqueen who resist their stab. Now, originally I was going to stick to VGC rules and make sure that only one Pokemon could have one held item at a time, but I couldn't pass up an opportunity like this. Both Nidoking and Nidoqueen have the ability Sheer Force, so they're both going to get the Life Orb. Now, if you don't know, the ability Sheer Force powers up moves with a secondary effect by 30%, but with a drawback of the secondary effect no longer happening. But it has this weird interaction with the Life Orb where not only do you still get the 30% damage boost from the item, but you don't take the 10% recoil damage either. So it's almost a free 69% boost with no drawback. And I gave them both incredible coverage that hits over 90% of Pokemon in the game for super effective damage. So enough said about them, because it's onto his wild card Snorlax, who I'm honestly shocked isn't owned by a Kanto trainer, but has the classic annoying set with Leftovers and Protect for free passive recovery, Stab Body Slam that you know is going to paralyze paralyze you at some point, Earthquake to hit any rock and steel types for super effective damage, and Crunch to hit ghost types. Snorlax is a specially defensive wall who needs to be hit at least 3 times against that Charizard set I told you about earlier in order to be taken out. For context, Blastoise, who is also quite defensive, can be taken out in 1 hit from that same Charizard set I told you about, and he resists that move. And although he has great special defense, he severely lacks in physical defense, which is why Rhydon has perfect synergy since he has the 5th highest physical defense of all Gen 1 Pokemon, and of course this is made to be even higher with the held Eviolite. I gave him the best stab options of Rock Slide and Earthquake. I don't like Stone Edge because honestly it's called Stone Mist to me. I'd rather have a little bit less power and a little bit more accuracy. And the best physical normal type move in the game, Double Edge, to which he takes no recoil damage with the Rock Head ability. And as a Hail Mary, he has a move Counter to deal double the damage back to the opponent hit with a physical type move. I mainly included this because I used it a couple times in a Nuzlocke I did recently and I'm just in love with it right now. But the last Pokemon that Giovanni has, maybe you guessed it, is Kangaskhan. The first move to highlight is Retaliate. Not only does this move get stabbed from Kangaskhan, but if it's used the turn after a teammate fades, then it doubles in power, which if we're factoring in stab is now a 210 base power move. She also has the move Power Up Punch, which doesn't have that high of base power but can finish off low HP opponents and even ghost types with their Scrappy ability, and you can still get an attack boost. I also threw on Body Slam as a good stab option, and again Earthquake, since not only is this a normal and ground type gym, but also allows Kangaskhan to hit those rock and steel types that resist normal type moves. And then kept it simple with the held item and just used Citrus Berry for extra survivability, and that's the last gym of the game. I know I've said this a few times already, but what do you think about the gyms I created? Do you think I got them right? Are they too OP? Would you do anything differently? Let me know because I'm going to be redoing every single gym leader from all 9 generations to see what type of teams we can come up with. And if you enjoyed the video and want to see the series, please consider liking the video, maybe even subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything, it's free, and it really helps me out and I'll greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and let me know what region I should cover next.